Welcome, everyone. It is my great honor to open this conference with an interview with Patricia Cota Robles. Patricia is co-founder and president of the nonprofit educational organization Era of Peace, which sponsors her work and the annual World Congress on Illumination. Patricia was a marriage and family counselor for 20 years. She has now long spent her time freely sharing the information she is receiving from our Father, Mother, God, and the company of heaven. This is accomplished through her website, eraofpeace.org, her weekly vlogs, online webinars, teleconferences, monthly email articles, YouTube videos, Facebook sharings, and online radio shows. She also distributes the information she is receiving from on high through her many books, ebooks, CDs, MP3s, and DVDs. This sacred knowledge clearly reveals the bigger picture of the events unfolding on Earth at this time. This heart-based perspective is designed to enlighten humanity by giving all of us greater insight, encouragement, clarity, and understanding as we progress through these wondrous but often challenging times on Earth. Welcome, Patricia. It is a true delight to have this time with you.
Well, thank you, Chara. I'm delighted to be here. This is a wonderful and really powerful time.
Yes. And I imagine that a number of our listeners are already familiar with you, but for anyone who isn't, I will start by acknowledging that you have been one of the foremost leaders, at least in the English-speaking world, guiding spiritually oriented people to envision a new Earth existence on this planet, one that is based in living as our more divine selves, in peace, in compassion, and in loving treatment of one another within humanity and of all the beings here. So you are really beautifully positioned to be commenting. How are you seeing our circumstances now here in early 2022? We have experienced quite a lot of tumult and upheaval and shift over the last several years. Where do you believe we are in the process of creating a higher level of sacred existence here on our planet?
Well, from my own personal experience, I know that we are literally co-creating miracles, and many, many people in the outer world at this time will look at me like I have two heads when I say that because of outer world appearances. But that is really the whole point. The problem is that we are multi-dimensional beings functioning in many levels of consciousness simultaneously. And all of our efforts that we are co-creating must be created first through our thoughts, words, actions, and feelings, our activities of light, and all of our divine intentions in the realms of cause, where everything begins. Then that filters into the outer world, into the physical world of effects. And the beings of light have said that the physical plane of Earth that we think of as being so real is the least real of all of the dimensions we abide in. And it is the very last dimension to reflect the changes. And the challenge is that as these incredible waves of light enter the planet, they push everything that conflicts with that light to the surface. So what we're witnessing in outer appearances is all of the misqualified energy from multidimensional timeframes on this planet being pushed to the surface to be healed and transmuted back into light. And Chara, I've been blessed to be on this planet a really long time. And from the time I was little, I was on my spiritual quest, and my motivation and my challenge was asking, why in the world is there so much pain and suffering on this planet? And that took me through the gamut of world religions and psychology and everything I could get my hands on about the power of the mind and positive thinking and all of those things. And even through the scientific community and the laws of physics and how energy is affecting us in the outer world. And all of those avenues, whether spiritual or academic, kept reflecting the identical same message to me. And that was that whatever we are sending out through our thoughts, words, actions, and feelings is returning to us and manifesting in the physical plane. And in spiritual religions and spiritual activities, it was called reaping what we sow, or casting our bread upon the water and having it returned to us, or an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And in scientific modalities, it was called like attracts like, action and reaction, radiation and magnetization. So my knowing was that if every form of knowledge, it both academic and spiritual, is teaching us about this same principle that's creating our realities, that's determining what's happening in our lives, why in the world are we in this mess? Why are we still manifesting these terrible situations in our outer world experience? And so that sent me on more of a spiritual quest, and I asked the religious leaders, and they would say, why is there so much pain and suffering? And they would say, well, it's because Eve ate that darned apple. And when you go to metaphysics, or to not metaphysics, but to the scientific community, they'd say, well, the reality is that matter forms out of chaos by happenstance, that there's no rhyme or reason for what's happening, that what is just is. And even on a more metaphysical level, the higher level of philosophy and divine consciousness, they would talk about the in-breath and the out-breath of our Father, Mother, God, but no one really understood what that meant. So I started doing what we're all told: seek ye first the kingdom of heaven within, and all else will be revealed to you. So I would be going in, meditating, and asking for that guidance. And gradually it just opened in my heart. And as I reached up into the light, I started receiving the sacred knowledge that was explaining clearly. And I realized, and it was affirmed for me, that this sacred knowledge was coming from our Father, Mother, God, but also from all of the sacred realms of illumined truth, where the legions of light throughout infinity that are assisting us in this outer world are guiding us and helping us. So just for an example of what we're talking about, of the progress, in 1968, I began my outreach. I wanted to make this information freely available to anyone that was interested, just knowing that if people could really know how we can transform our lives and how we're creating what we don't want in our lives, that they could change their lives. And so I began teaching meditation and things. And in that year, 1968, interestingly, very much like what's going on in the outer world, there were anti-war movements at that time. That young people were sick and tired of what the older people were doing. And there was this mantra that you don't trust anybody, you don't trust the man, you don't trust anybody over 35. And the kids were trying to awaken their consciousness and reach up through experimental drugs, marijuana, LSD, and those kind of things, and talking about making love, not war. And it's right along with all of that was the civil rights movement and the right to vote, and all of the things so similar to what we're doing right now. And at that time, I decided to become a vegetarian, and people didn't even know mainstream what vegetarianism was. My father-in-law said to me, well, why would you want to do that? And he said, I understand that people are saying somehow it improves your health and you can live longer. But he said, who would want to? Just the concept of living without meat. And now this is, just through 50 years now of transformational, There's health food stores everywhere. You can get organic, healthy food everywhere in restaurants and all kinds of wonderful, nourishing, delicious food. When we'd go to a conference back then and you'd say you were vegetarian, if they were serving peas and mashed potatoes and a chicken breast, they took the chicken breast off the plate and gave you more peas and mashed potatoes. They had no clue of what a vegetarian meal was. And that the reason, just to see how this has transformed, and that has actually manifested physically, but it took a long time for it to do that. The consciousness and the patterns and the belief systems, the indigenous people were coming to the fore, teaching us how to work with the earth and how to communicate with the elemental kingdom. And tremendous awakenings were taking place that it finally, 50 years later, and it's been doing it for a while, but 50 years later, is tangibly manifesting in the outer world. So what we need to realize is that these things that we're doing, these shifts and these changes, are absolutely being brought into the physical plane. And gradually, we're seeing more and more when we can understand that the outer world is the garbage being pushed to the surface. This is why this time biblically was referred to as the time of screaming and gnashing of teeth, because we easily see the garbage coming up. What we don't see as easily is the incredible light of God that's flowing through every heart flame to push the garbage up. But
Yes.
there is a monumental shift of consciousness taking place. And what we see on the news, is very distorted from what the reality is. All of that fear-based consciousness is what we know and what we're familiar with and what our fragmented human ego has been perpetuating out there to keep us trapped and to keep us stuck in this lower consciousness, because it knows that fragmented part of us that we developed when we fell into such dense frequencies of chaos and discord, knows that if our I am presence, if our God self takes full dominion, it will have to be transformed, and it perceives that it's going to die, which is not the case. We're one with every particle of life, but it will be transformed into a higher reflection and transmuted back into light again. But we have to love that part of us free until we can lift it up and move it into that higher frequency of vibration. So what's happening now is that the changes are taking place in the media. You've heard that terrible statement, if it bleeds, it leads. Whatever gets the most attention is what is being promoted. And in my experience, the vast majority of that is really people trying to do their best with a lack of awareness of the reality of what is really happening. They're not malevolent people trying to lead people astray. There certainly are those factions out there of people that are deliberately trying to maintain their power through the abuse of power and corruption and greed and all of those things. But even that is just our sisters and brothers who have fallen to such a low level of consciousness that they believe that if they don't do those things, they're not going to exist. And so they are fighting tooth and nail to maintain that power. But light is infinitely more powerful than that. So these wondrous changes that are taking place are going to shift the outer world consciousness. There's a huge awakening taking place. And the beings of light keep telling us that the number of people genuinely wreaking havoc on this planet, striving to hold us back and to keep us from moving forward in the light, is truly a minuscule fraction of the 8 billion souls now evolving on this planet.
Yes, yes. So I agree with you very much. what is your best recommendation for people who want to be able to see the consciousness shift that's occurring, but they're having trouble seeing it? I mean, I have learned over time through following your work and Sandra Walters and other people's, I have learned where to direct my attention. But a lot of people, I think, are finding this challenging. So what do you say to someone who might say, I want to believe you, but how do I see this?
Okay, the knowledge of the fact that the outer world is the least real and will be the very last frequency to reflect these changes is important, because then we stop expecting so desperately to see that. It's like when we experienced harmonic convergence in 1987, or the birth of the new earth on the solstice of 2012. You know, all of the people that were aware of these monumental shifts were expecting the new earth to be tangibly manifest the next day, but that's not how things manifest. They happen in the realms of cause, and then the universal law is that for something to manifest in the physical plane, it has to be drawn through the divinity in the heart flame of sons and daughters of God abiding in the physical plane. The beings of light can't just wave a light and wave a wand and do this for us. So we have to magnetize those patterns. So what we are being encouraged to do, and now especially because of tremendous shifts of vibration that are taking place, what used to be is when we tried to focus on the light and stay focused on only the positive, and daily and hourly be vigilant about our thoughts, words, actions, and feelings. It many times it's been like walking through tar into 150-mile-an-hour winds to keep our focus on the light. But the heavy oppressive things, for instance, in recent moments, even on this planet, the archetypes and the matrices for those destructive structures from the past have been dismantled. And so they no longer can manipulate and control us in the ways they used to. Our I am presence, our divinity, has been able to actually integrate. We have raised our vibrations on this planet to a frequency where our God self can now integrate at a cellular level. After our fall, which took place because we started using our creative faculties of thought and feelings in ways that were not based in love, creating these mutated gross thought forms of hate and poverty and greed and all of the maladies that exist on earth. We fell into such dense frequencies that our I am presence would be vibrating at a fifth dimensional frequency, just projecting a ray of light into our heart flame that we call the spark of divinity, or the still small voice within, enough to sustain our physical body. But now, over these past few decades, specifically since harmonic convergence in 1987 and the birth of the new earth in 2012, we have raised up in vibration to the point where our I am presence is able to integrate at a cellular level in our bodies. And so this part of us now that is integrating, and the fact that those old matrices that have manipulated and controlled us for lifetimes have been dismantled, it is much, much easier for us to stay focused on the light. There's an expression, where your attention is, there you are. Whatever we are putting our attention and energy into, through our thoughts, words, actions, and feelings, we are empowering and we are magnetizing into our life. And the vast majority of people are doing this innocently by mistake, because they don't know the power of their thoughts and feelings. This is what is the clarion call pouring forth from the heavenly realm to awaken us to this fact that if we're focusing on hate, if we're focusing on fear, if we're focusing on war, if we're focusing on poverty or lack or limitation or COVID or vaccines or masses in a way that's hateful, that's destructive, that's pitting us against them, that's why there's such a mess in the outer world. That's what we're in the midst of right this minute. So what we're being asked to do is to recognize all of this is happening in the outer world, but we need to stay focused on the light and to not do battle with what's happening in the outer world, because there is no such thing as us against them. And no matter which polarity of this process we're on, the extreme left or the extreme right or the extreme poverty or the extreme wealth or disease and health and all of the other extremes on this planet, when we're doing battle, when we're feeling like victims, when we're feeling us against them, that I'm in this mess because these people have done this to me, or because these people are greedy, or because these people refuse to do whatever they need to do to make life better for me or whatever, we are perpetuating the problems. So what we need to do is, excuse me, the beings of light have said that the most powerful frequency to transmute negativity is the violet flame of God's infinite perfection. And what that violet flame is, it's the perfect balance of our Father God's sapphire blue power of divine will and protection, and the crystalline pink ray of our Mother God's comprehensive divine love. This frequency blended together in perfect balance creates the violet flame of God's infinite perfection, and it is the most powerful frequency of light available to transmute the surfacing negativity and the surfacing garbage. There are 12 solar aspects of deity, and at the end of our talk here, we're going to do an activity of light to intensify the activation of that. The seventh solar aspect of deity is the violet flame, and each of those aspects of deity flow through the planet during the various ages. We have completed the Piscean age. We're now in the full embrace of the age of Aquarius. And the predominant frequency for this 2,000-year cycle is going to be the violet flame of God's infinite perfection. So it's greatly assisting us in transmuting the negativity. And not only that, it's being upgraded and accelerated as well. And just recently, because of shifts of vibration that have taken place within us, there is a powerful force field of the violet flame at Mount Fuji in Japan. And when the Olympic Games took place there in July, the focus of humanity's consciousness on the Olympic Games, and the Olympic Games are such a powerful visualization and creative cup of consciousness, because the mission, the intent, is the family of humanity coming together to reach our highest level of excellence. And that thought form creates this collective cup of consciousness. And what took place during the Olympic Games is that globally, we reached a frequency of vibration that allowed our Father, Mother God to project a higher frequency through solar archangels of forgiveness than we've ever experienced. And this is referred to as the violet flame of cosmic forgiveness. It is a frequency of forgiveness beyond what we could ever safely assimilate at a cellular level at the frequency the earth was vibrating in. But during the Olympics, we reached a frequency So this cosmic forgiveness is now flooding the earth, and it will not leave. We are now sustaining and will sustain a frequency to manifest this. So when we talk about how do we begin really observing what's taking place in the outer world, the more we just blaze the violet flame through every single thing that's not of the light on the planet, and let that go as far as focusing our attention on it, and go within to the divinity of our heart. And now that our I am presence is integrated, we can hear more clearly that inner guidance and start focusing with our deliberate attention on what we are empowering through our thoughts, words, action, and feelings. And if we will say to ourselves, monitoring throughout the day, for instance, this moment is what I am focusing on, what I'm putting my attention and energy into. Is this what I want to be empowering? Is this adding to the light of the world, or is it adding to the chaos? If it's adding to the chaos, if you're focusing on fighting about the vaccines or about COVID or about voting rights or anything, anger and fighting about that, we empower the very thing that we're opposing in that moment. But
Yes.
instead, look at those things that are making you angry. Look at those things that are upsetting you and say, what do I want instead of that? And so when you're talking about COVID and masks and vaccines, what do you want instead of that? You want vibrant health flooding into the planet, healing flooding into the planet. When you talk about voting rights, what do you want to manifest? You blaze the violet flame through all the chaos, all of the ideas of suppressing votes, all of the prejudice, all of the fears, all of the garbage that's creating this problem. And you say you want the highest level of integrity, working toward uh, helping us revel in our diversities, working together toward the highest good for all concerned. I've often teased about the fact, gosh, if we could just love each other as much as we love each other's food, right? We love all of the different kinds of food of all of the nations and all of the cultures and all of that. But here we are hating each other and fighting each other, which is all of it's based in ignorance and fear. So we blaze the violet flame through that ignorance and fear, and we see the family of humanity working together, creating win-win situations, working toward constructive jobs, healthcare, prosperity, plenty of uh, uh, interaction with each other, that we can love and respect each other. Of course, it is not the divine plan for everybody on the planet to move to the United States of America. So what we have to do is expand our vision to include all the countries of the world, so that in every country there is a higher level of consciousness manifesting in government and in education, and that prosperity. Truthfully, in my experience, talking to immigrants and talking to people that are coming, 100% of them, 100% of them would much rather remain in their own countries with their
Yes.
own cultures if they could be safe, if they could have jobs, if they could have education, prosperity, healthcare, and wonderful lives for their families.
Right.
So that's what we empower with our thoughts and feelings, not we have to get out there and build a wall because these horrible people are going to come over here and take my job away from me. They're not horrible people. They're you and me. And if we were in their situation, if there was war going on in the United States or wherever your country is, and your family was living in rubble and there was no food and no jobs, or the drug cartels were kidnapping your children and moving them through sex trafficking or making your sons drug dealers, we would be doing the same thing. We would be going to
Yes.
whatever country we thought would offer a better life for us. We would be refugees fleeing this country. So we need to start developing through cosmic forgiveness this new level of tolerance and love. And when we do that, that expands then into the elemental kingdom so that we revere and honor and love the water, the earth, the air, the fire, the trees, the planets, the animals, and we start working toward a higher good. And we're going to. On the new earth, we're plant-based. We're not killing animals to feed ourselves. That is no longer a necessary part of what our diet is, just like it wasn't in the beginning. And talking about that, just because people sometimes have a question about that, about not killing animals, I became a vegetarian for that reason. I didn't like the idea of killing animals. It wasn't so much for health or cardiac problems or anything like that. It was because I didn't like the idea of killing animals. And people would say, well, you eat a carrot and you tear it up from the ground and you've killed that carrot, or you've crushed a seed or whatever. And so communicating with the company of heaven and asking about that, because that's absolutely true, that does happen. There is a divine intelligence in everything, and even the most minuscule subatomic particle of life, there is a divine intelligence associated with it. And that intelligence is referred to as the elemental kingdom. There are three life waves evolving on Earth. There's the human kingdom, there's the angelic kingdom, and there's the elemental kingdom, which includes the plants and trees and mountains and stones in the body of Mother Earth and all the animals and insects and birds. And the beings of light have said everybody is evolving. And any elemental being that has evolved to the point of locomotion, which means swimming, slithering, flying, any crawling, any movement, that the elemental being is in that body, just like we are. Our I am presence uses our earthly body as the car we drive to navigate around. And when we kill the elemental being, even if we thought it was necessary to feed ourselves, we interrupt the evolutionary process of that elemental being. But if it has not evolved to the point of locomotion, then the plant, the tree, the carrot, the root vegetable, whatever it is the outpictured thought form of the elemental being that they have created to sustain the elemental kingdom that has moved to the process of locomotion and the human kingdom, the sons and daughters of God that are here on earth in their earthly vehicles, the elemental body of their earthly vehicles. So this will evolve for all of us, and understanding this more, we're going to evolve into more of a plant-based society. But right now, we need to just start revering all life and start coming from that place.
Yes, that is a beautiful explanation. You've given us a really lovely and in-depth sense of some of the inner process of participating in what is going on right now. Before we go to your activation, I would like to ask if you have thoughts on how people should determine their participation in the outer world now, this year, in coming years. Because it seems that as systems change, as consciousness rises, more and more people are feeling that they need to change their work or their lifestyle at home, or how they're contributing as volunteers, or something new that they are bringing forth. But what I see is a lot of people not quite being sure right now. how to step into their new level of contribution in the physical world. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. We're in the process of transformation right now. And at the beginning of this decade in 2020, the Company of Heaven said that we had reached a frequency of vibration on the planet that was allowing the Company of Heaven to collaborate with humanity in ways that had never before been attempted. This isn't because the beings of light came to rescue us and save us and are rescuing us. It's because we have raised up in frequency of vibration and are adding enough light to the world and transforming the earth at a frequency level into a higher vibration that now is reaching the Company of Heaven. They've come through the veil to meet us in ways that have never before been attempted. And they said in the, in this decade, 2020 to 2030, we are going to develop our latent abilities within us, and we are going to be literally physically transfiguring the outer world. And the beings of light have said that this intervention in ways that had never before been attempted, we had no idea what that meant. And yet within a couple of weeks after getting that guidance and that I shared with everybody, we went into COVID and really had a global lockdown that had never before happened in the history of this planet. And the beings of light don't get in our outer world chaos and don't get in the confusion and the dissension and all that. But they said that the planetary pause created through this outer world experience, regardless of the circumstances that created it, this planetary pause allowed the I am presence of every person to integrate and to take control of our inner guidance in ways that we could hear for the first time, literally moving us to a place where we are now seeing with new eyes and hearing with new ears. And the beings of light said, once this transformation is complete and is moving forward, they said nothing will ever be the same again. So even that, we don't know what it means, but it is very logical that there are all kinds of shifts of consciousness going on for people. And I want to say that we are not here by accident. We are here because we were chosen to be here during this time. And we are in the midst of a unique experiment that's never been attempted in any system of worlds. Never has a planet fallen to this level of chaos and confusion, been given an opportunity to move this quickly into the light. And so what is happening now as we are awakening and moving into the light is that at the latter part of the 1800s and throughout this the last century, the clarion call went forth to the universe from the solar logos in our central sun, known as Alpha and Omega. And they asked volunteers because they felt that the evolutions of Earth had not been able to get our head above the mud puddle of our miscreations enough to move forward in the light, and that we would need divine intervention. In other words, souls embodying on Earth with a higher level of consciousness. They still came in with the band of forgetfulness, and as they awaken, they connect with higher levels of consciousness. But the beings of light said that billions of souls volunteered, and that each and every one of us in embodiment at this time were selected when maybe millions of others were turned away. And that is not because we're more wonderful or more special than our sisters and brothers, but it was because of our individual life experiences from wherever we've come from, through all time frames and dimensions, that because of our tenacity and because of our willingness to stay focused on the light in the face of all adversity, they thought we had a better chance of staying focused on the light during the incredible, difficult purging process that we are actually in the midst of right at this moment than our sisters and brothers who were turned away. So each of us has come in with a golden thread we're weaving into this tapestry of the new earth. We each have a part of this and a divine plan. Fortunately, one of the things that is happening, and I've written about this in my newsletters, and I'll just mention that monthly newsletters and a weekly vlog, a little video comes out every week that explains and shares the information the Company of Heaven is sharing with us. It's free and available to you. All you have to do is sign up for them to receive them on our website. But the information that's coming now and the things that we're being told and understanding now at greater and greater levels is that we now have the ability, because of these changes that have taken place up to this point, to fulfill a higher facet of the divine plan. And that with what happened with harmonic convergence, that activity of light literally raised the frequency of the earth. This was in 1987, that allowed the mighty Elohim, who are the builders of form, to lift us off of the wheel of karma that we miscreated with our fall from grace. We fell off of the spiral of evolution onto this trap of the wheel of karma. In 1987, we were lifted back onto the wheel of karma, which opened the floodgates to allow new souls to embody on earth. These new souls had been waiting for us to raise up off of the wheel of karma. And they've been preparing in the inner realms, in the temples of light around the great central sun, learning new levels of viable solutions and divine intervention that will help the earth restore and transform the pollution and the negative things, and literally accelerate bringing in innovative ideas, new ideas as far as technology and energy and how to clean the pollution and how to raise the consciousness and the awakening. They've come in massive numbers since 1987, August of 1987. Billions of these souls are now embodied all over the earth. In the heavenly realms, they're known as the holy innocents. And that sacred knowledge was encoded within them into what their I am presence referred to as consciousness codes. So now those consciousness codes have been activated in the billions of holy innocents all over the planet. And because of the shifts that have taken place since the birth of the new decade, in 2022, these precious souls, which are the millennials, what they're referring to as Generation Z, all of the children, the babies coming in, all of these souls are now awakening and standing in readiness, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, to fulfill their divine plans. And what the beings of light have said, beginning in 2022, at this time now, there is going to be the divine plan of initiating a generational changing of the guard, which means all of the old guard that has been manipulating and controlling and suppressing and oppressing the masses of humanity and have been contributing to the degradation and pollution of the earth are going to be stepping aside, and not all at one time, but step by step. And these young transformational leaders are going to start stepping into the fore. So that was a long way of explaining what you're talking about. So those of us born before 1987 have the responsibility of doing whatever our heart flame is guiding us to do to clear the way for these new transformational leaders, to support them and to assist them. They had a thing on television this week of a young 23-year-old, the youngest ever state senator in Connecticut, won an election from this person who had been the state senate, an older person, for a very long time. And this young man said he came to the fore to take this place because he heard a speech from President Obama, and President Obama was saying, this was at the close of his administration. He said, if you don't like what's going on, don't complain about it. Get out there and get a clipboard and go to door, get petitions signed and run for office and do something about it. And he said that resonated, this young senator said that resonated so much with him. He said the people that in his state, the senator before him, he wasn't for any kind of rational, logical gun safety control. He wasn't for any kind of uh, uh, educational system that would help people get educated more logically. He wasn't in a form of climate change and things that they were doing. He said he wasn't doing any of the things for voting rights or any of that we need done. So I did just what President Obama said. I went out there and got my thing. And in my newsletter, what I said is, this is now the momentum for this new year of 2022. So what we need to do is we need to pay attention, and anything that is brought into our sphere of awareness where we can help, where we can assist, where we can interact with these young people and support them to do that, that is what our calling is going to be. So all of us, listen to your heart, pay attention. And if you don't hear that inner guidance as clearly as you like to, again, blaze the violet flame through any interference, anything that's causing a problem, and keep asking and asking. Take time to quiet yourself, to go within, and to listen.
Yes, I really appreciate that, because I have learned myself, and so many wise teachers and those who have made significant contributions have shown us much will appear when we continually repeat our desire to be of service and to contribute in a way that is of the light.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. And we are here because we have every ability to do that. And most importantly, what I keep stressing to people, because of what we were talking about in the beginning and the outer world appearances, that we have been chosen because our Father, Mother, God felt that we had the best chance of succeeding in the face of all of the adversity manifesting in the outer world. So where our attention is, there we are, and we need to stay focused on the light of what we want to manifest and co-create, and not what we don't like or what we hate or what we're afraid of, or other people that we think are victimizing us or whatever, because
Yes.
that's not even real. There's no such thing as a victim. We are going through the learning experiences that we either consciously or unconsciously have co-created over myriad lifetimes.
Yes, and I really appreciate how you've emphasized that all of us who are here now are here purposefully, whether we know exactly at this time what our purpose is clearly, or we're not so sure. We are all here purposefully, and we all have the ability, the right, the mandate, the option to contribute in very healing, regenerative, and love-oriented ways.
Wonderful.
You speak to that so beautifully.
Thank you. And I'd just like to mention that this doesn't mean to be of service that we have to have some great grandiose plan. every act of love, admiring a beautiful sunset, love, fixing a healthy meal for our family, everything we do that expresses love is adding to the light of the world. And we're contributing to our purpose by every moment, with every thought, word, action, or feeling we express.
Yes, indeed. Patricia, what a joy to have this time with you. I would love for you to go into your activation and share that with us.
Thank you very much. I'm going to read this because I don't have it memorized. I don't want to memorize it in case I would forget something. So I'm going to ask everybody to just go within to the divinity of your heart, close your eyes, and feel these words just flowing through the divinity of your heart flame. We are in a whole new place of frequency of vibration with the birth of this new year, 2022. 22 is a master number that reflects power on all planes, the ability to change the course of history. This meditation is being done this weekend as we are expanding the February 22nd, 2022 frequency of vibration. So that is 6 twos together. So that multiplies the divine potential of a 22 frequency 10,000 times. So as this light is flowing through us and expanding, we are breathing on our holy breath new frequencies of vibration of the 12 fifth dimensional crystalline solar aspects of deity. And I'll describe them as we go through them in this activation. So if you'll breathe in deeply, go within, close your eyes and focus on the magnificent frequency of your heart flame. Follow me through this meditation with the full power of your intentions and your attention. I am my I am presence, and I am one with the I am presence of every man, woman, and child on earth. Collectively, humanity's I am presences now merge into one luminous being of light that is cradling Mother Earth and all life evolving upon her within the divinity of our unified heart flames. Humanity, the elemental kingdom, and Mother Earth are now breathing in unison with me as one elevated holy breath. What I invoke for myself this sacred and holy day, I invoke on behalf of every person on this planet, the elemental kingdom, and Mother Earth, in perfect alignment with each one's divine plan and the highest good for all concerned. I am one with my Father, Mother, God. I am one with the solar logos from suns beyond suns. I am one with the legions of light throughout infinity. I am one with the mighty Elohim, the directors of the elements, and all of the beings associated with the elemental kingdom, including my body elemental. I accept and know that the light of God is exponentially expanding within the hearts and minds of all humanity with every elevated holy breath I take. Mother Earth and all life evolving upon her are daily ascending into new celestial and cosmic coordinates. Earth's adjusted position in the universe is allowing humanity, the elemental kingdom, and Mother Earth to daily receive higher and higher solar light codes through the portals of the suns in Earth's lineage. This includes the solar light codes flowing through the portals of our physical sun, Helios and Vesta, our central sun, Alpha and Omega, our great central sun, Eloe and Eloah, and our great, great central sun, El and Allah. On this sacred and holy day, through the divine intervention of the entire company of heaven, now gathered in the atmosphere of earth, I invite from the very core of creation the most intensified frequencies of fifth dimensional crystalline solar light that humanity and the earth are capable of receiving at this time. Beloved ones, use this gift of light to accelerate the divine alchemy that is transfiguring the carbon-based earthly bodies of humanity, the elemental kingdom, and Mother Earth into fifth dimensional crystalline solar light bodies. Simultaneously, raise humanity's newly recalibrated spiritual brain centers, as well as our mental bodies, superconscious minds, conscious minds, subconscious minds, and physical brain structures into brand new levels of divine consciousness. I consecrate my life force and my elevated holy breath to be the open door for this unfathomable divine intervention on behalf of every particle and wave of life evolving on this sweet earth. Beloved Father, Mother God, beloved Solar Logos, and beloved Elohim, I ask that you now breathe brand new solar light codes for the 12 fifth dimensional crystalline solar aspects of deity through the 12-pointed crown of the Elohim above the earth, the 12-pointed crown of the Elohim on the brow of humanity's collective I Am presence, and the 12-pointed crown of the Elohim on the brow of every person's individual I Am presence. On my holy breath, I expand this divine light through every person's fifth dimensional crystalline solar spine, our 12 fifth dimensional solar chakras, our acupuncture meridians, and our acupuncture points. As this occurs, simultaneously expand these new solar light codes through Mother Earth's crystal grid system and the fifth dimensional crystalline record keeper crystals contained in the new contingency plan for Mother Earth and all life evolving upon her. I now begin by inhaling and exhaling deeply. I am inbreathing the new solar light codes for the sapphire blue first solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of God's will, power, protection, illumined faith, and God's first cause of perfection. On my out-breath, I breathe this sapphire blue solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. Now I am inbreathing the new solar light codes for the yellow gold second solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of unity consciousness and enlightenment. On my out-breath, I breathe this yellow gold solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. I now inbreathe the new solar light codes for the pink third solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of comprehensive divine love, oneness, and reverence for all life. On my out-breath, I breathe this pink solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. Now I am inbreathing the new solar light codes for the crystal and white solar, fourth solar aspect of deity, and the divine qualities of purity, renewal, restoration, resurrection, ascension, and the Immaculate Concept. On my out-breath, I breathe this crystal and white solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. I am now inbreathing the new solar light codes for the emerald green fifth solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of illumined truth, healing, inner vision, and consecration. On my out-breath, I breathe this emerald green solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. Now, I am inbreathing the new solar light codes for the ruby gold sixth solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of grace, devotional worship, healing, peace, and the manifestation of unity consciousness. On my out-breath, I breathe this ruby gold solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. Now, I am inbreathing the new solar light codes for the violet seventh solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of God's infinite perfection, including mercy, compassion, cosmic forgiveness, transmutation, liberty, justice, freedom, victory, transfiguration, glory, and oneness. On my out-breath, I breathe the violet solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. Now, I am inbreathing the new solar light codes for the aquamarine eighth solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of clarity, discernment, understanding, and perception. On my out-breath, I breathe this aquamarine solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. Now, I am inbreathing the new solar light codes for the magenta ninth solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of harmony, balance, assurance, and God confidence. On my out-breath, I breathe this magenta solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. I now inbreathe the new solar light codes for the gold 10th solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of eternal peace and God's infinite abundance. On my out-breath, I breathe this gold solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. Now I am inbreathing the new solar light codes for the peach 11th solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of divine purpose, enthusiasm, and joy. On my out-breath, I breathe this peach solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. Now I am inbreathing the new solar light codes for the opal 12th solar aspect of deity and the divine qualities of transformation and transfiguration. On my out-breath, I breathe this opal solar light into the heart of Mother Earth. Instantaneously, it expands through Earth's crystal grid system, blessing all life. Beloved Father, Mother God, beloved Solar Logos, and beloved Elohim, I thank you for the assistance you are giving to humanity, the elemental kingdom, and Mother Earth during this momentous time. And I am grateful for the opportunity to serve all life in this life-transforming way. I accept and know that daily and hourly, this activity of light is intensifying with every elevated holy breath I take. And so it is, beloved, I am that I am.
And so it is.
And so it is. Feeling this energy secured in the physical plane, just gently return your attention to the room, in-breathing, exhaling. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes.
Thank you, Patricia, for blessing us with your loving wisdom and this gorgeous activation. To our listeners, I encourage you to listen to this again and find Patricia at eraofpeace.org. Definitely take advantage of her beautiful and inspiring newsletters and her weekly video vlogs. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Chara. And bless you for all of the light you're adding to the world and this powerful summit that we're having this weekend.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.